Today I want to share with you a Mehdi Hasan debate with a pro-Israel ex-congressman. It's going to be fun. It's going to get heated. Let's get straight into the video.
I don't support Hamas. Do you support Hamas?
No.
I don't support Israel. Do you support Israel?
Yes.
So that's what we're going to talk about.
If Israel wanted to exterminate the Palestinian people,
Yeah.
they could have done it in 3 months.
That's the worst argument you've ever made in all the time I've made. I'll tell you
Correct.
why. Vladimir Putin could have erased everyone in Ukraine with a nuke.
No, it's not.
I hear that argument all the time, like, oh, if they wanted to genocide them all, they would have done. They kind of are. Not all of them, but that seems like the goal. But that is just not an argument for what they're doing. Like, if they want... Disgusting.
Israel's policy to target civilians. Israel has gone out of their way not to.
335 bullets fired into a car with children. Is that a war crime?
I don't. You know what? Could be. Investigate it. But God damn it,
It was investigated, Joe.
This is what Hamas does all the time.
Right. They're starving people in Gaza. Are they starving people in Gaza?
What would you answer me something?
Oh, no,
no,
I'm not here to answer your question, Joe.
No,
Are they
they're
starving
not
people in
starving
Gaza?
people
So Cindy
in Gaza.
McCain, please.
Yes, there's starvation in Gaza. But gosh darn it, Israel
No, and then there is.
has gone out of their way to allow aid in. of this
200
war.
kids killed in the West Bank since October 7th.
Weren't they stopping aid going in at some point just because there was like nail clippers in or something? Like that could be potentially a weapon. They were using any pretext to stop food, aid, water going in.
Are you okay with that?
No,
Do
I'm
you
not
condemn
okay.
Israel? Okay, do you condemn Israel for killing 200 children in the West Bank?
I'd have to know, Mehdi.
You have to know how the children were killed.
Yes, I'd have to know how the
So there's-
children was killed.
you're
See, they can't even condemn that. Like a normal person, they'd be like, yeah, I condemn that. 200 killed, innocent children killed. Like, you wouldn't even have to think. You'd just be like, yeah, that's bad. But no, how are they killed? Like, is it brutal? Disgusting.
Who's responsible for the children?
Israelis
killed?
are.
Answer this. There's no peace in that region. Why? Is it completely
Because of
one-sided?
Benjamin Netanyahu.
That's why. No, hold on. No, it's
I'll
not.
read it a third time.
No,
That's
don't.
all it would
Mehdi,
take.
don't
You
read
can't
it a
pull
third
my
time.
questions out
Let
of
me
my hat.
answer the freaking question.
You may have watched part one of my interview with former Republican Congressman Joe Walsh, where we discussed MAGA and Donald Trump and Elon Musk. But coming up is part two, and it's the kind of interview I haven't done for a very long time. It got very, very heated. We debated Israel, Gaza, war crimes, genocide, and more. You're going to want to watch this. Roll the tape. You have been an outspoken opponent of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, going as far as to call it a genocide. But when it comes to Gaza, you've criticized people for calling Gaza a genocide. Why is that, Joe? Why is what's happening in Ukraine a genocide, but not what's happening in Gaza, when far more people have been killed and displaced in Gaza than in Ukraine?
I think it goes to motive and intent. I think Putin is trying to kill, and he has been for 3 years, Ukrainian civilians, kidnapping Ukrainian children. His intent is to kill civilians. You and I can arm wrestle. I don't think that's Israel's intent.
It doesn't matter. I'm a consequentialist. I think it's all about the end result. Like, are you killing people? What are you doing? Like, your intentions, if you're killing potentially a couple of 100,000 people, I don't care what your intention is. It's disproportionate. Like, this isn't an argument. Like, this is an argument you make anywhere else in the world. But in Israel, they get away with it.
At all. I think Israel...
Even though Israeli government members have said far more genocidal stuff than Vladimir Putin has.
Completely. There are extreme members of Israeli's government.
Not just extreme members, the president, the prime minister.
There always have been. But
the president and prime minister of the country
I know,
have said stuff that Vladimir Putin has not said about Ukraine. And yet Joe Walsh, if you said neither's a genocide, then I'd be fine. We'd move on. We'll talk about other things about Gaza. What I find fascinating is that you're happy to say genocide here, but if you say it there, you get mad. I don't get it.
Yeah, I did a video a few months ago where Piers Morgan did exactly the same thing. He said Ukraine was a genocide. Rightly so. Tens of thousands of people have been killed. And then with Israel, he says no. And then he changed his mind and said, oh, no, Ukraine isn't a genocide. These people have no shame. They're shameless. It's insane hypocrisy.
Well, I don't get mad. I just think
You do. I've seen some of your tweets.
I just think Putin's intent
Yeah.
is to eliminate the Ukrainian
Based on
people.
what? His
based
words?
Based on his actions.
Why
He's
is
targeted
Israel's words and actions not the same?
Israel's actions and words. Again, you can find some, but Israel's
I could read you dozens. I'd be here all day if I started reading out all the genocidal statements from Israeli ministers.
I can find you a more history
Just a
of
few days
actions
ago,
of not.
Just a few days ago, the deputy speaker of the Israeli parliament and senior member of the Likud party, Netanyahu's party, said that the Palestinian civilians, his words, civilians, are scum, subhuman, and the women and children should be separated so that men can all be killed. That is stuff that Milosevic said. That is stuff I've not even heard Putin say. I don't hear Joe Walsh condemning that as genocidal.
Well, I would condemn that, and I will condemn that statement.
That's a genocidal statement.
That is a genocidal statement. I'm saying, Mehdi, that is a very minority view overall in Israel. Oh, my God, in Israel's government and among the Israeli people.
Well, put the Israeli people to one side. There's many polls. The Israeli government consists of Netanyahu and Smotrich and Amichai Eliyahu, who said, let's drop a nuke on Gaza.
That's not the majority. You think...
That is the Israeli government, Joe. They're the people killing the Palestinians right now.
You think
creating the post-war plan to wipe out the Palestinians with Trump to get rid of them from the place. All genocidal.
Why would it matter if it's not the majority anyway? If you've got people like that in power making decisions, that's pretty problematic. Why can't he accept that? Like criticism, it's insane.
Israel's intent to target and kill Palestinian civilians.
100%, yes.
You believe it has. That's been their intent from day one after October 7th.
They've said it, Joe. The guy I just quoted to you. The deputy speaker of the parliament said, "Let's kill all the adult men in Gaza."
And I'm
so
telling
you're just putting your hands in your ears.
No. I'm telling you that's a minority view. That's not the majority.
Okay, Benjamin Netanyahu said they are Amalek. What is Amalek, Joe? In the Bible, Amalek is kill everybody: men, women, children, even the donkeys. That's what Netanyahu said.
Mehdi,
I didn't hear Putin say that.
Mehdi, again, I can find extreme things that members of Israel's government has said.
Yeah, that counts as intent, and that's why they're at the ICJ.
See, he can't actually direct that point about Amalek and what Netanyahu says. Because it is genocidal language, and the actions follow from it. It's not ambiguous. It's not like, well, it's obvious what they're doing.
And that's why ICJ is investigating him. That's why some of Israel's leading Holocaust scholars have said it's a genocide.
If Israel wanted to exterminate the Palestinian people, they could have done it in 3 months.
That's the worst argument you've ever made in all the time I've made. I'll tell you why. Vladimir Putin could have erased everyone in Ukraine with a nuke.
No.
Yes, he could.
Oh, God, no.
Yes, he could.
Well, with a nuke.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, that's why.
With a nuke, then...
No, hold on. Your argument is Israel is not genocidal because they haven't killed everyone in Gaza and they could. I'm saying Vladimir Putin could kill everyone in Ukraine and he hasn't. Therefore, according to Joe Walsh's logic, Vladimir Putin is not genocidal.
A different situation in this degree. Israel is capable. From day one, they were capable.
As is Putin.
Oh, God.
Putin has nuclear armaments. Ugh.
Well... only with nukes. Israel is fighting another sovereign nation with a full-on military, with the support of the world community. Ukraine.
Okay.
Right?
You meant Russia, you said Israel.
Oh, I'm sorry. So Russia literally has an opposing army. Supported that.
But it could wipe it out. And by the way, the definition of genocide is not to kill everyone in a place.
Mehdi,
you know this, right?
I do.
They don't have to kill everyone to be genocidal.
Oh, I know that. But Mehdi...
But what they've done meets many of the criteria of genocide, which is why they're in front of the ICJ, which is why some of the leading genocide scholars in the world are saying it's a genocide.
No.
Omar Bartov, Israeli Holocaust historian. Amos Goldberg, Israeli Holocaust historian. Daniel Blatvik, Israeli Holocaust. They all say it's genocide. Are they crazy? These people study this for a living, Joe.
But do you...
Not you and me.
No, I know that, and I respect those opinions, but I don't think that's the majority view. But secondly, going back to Russia...
Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, all say genocide.
Well, again...
Human rights groups... Israeli Holocaust historians, Joe Walsh. With respect. What do you know that they don't know?
With respect. I'm sure it's more than Joe Walsh. But again, just to get back to Russia on this point, Mehdi, so Russia would be forced to use a nuke because Russia is fighting literally an army.
But they could, is what I'm saying. People were worried about Putin using nukes.
But a nuke then would mean the destruction of Russia. That's a whole different equation. Israel doesn't have to use a nuke, and they didn't from day one, to get rid of the Palestinian people.
But they have made life uninhabitable. It's not hypothetical. Right now, as of right now, Gaza is uninhabitable. Donald Trump says so, the President of the United States. In fact, let me show you. I think we've got some footage. I'd love to get your response to this footage, because Gaza, over the last 16 months, have a look at the screen, has suffered an apocalyptic level of destruction. This is a recent drone video from January. 70% of the buildings destroyed. Look at that imagery. That is not an anti-terror operation. That is not just targeting Hamas. That is, look at the imagery. That is something out of, I don't even know is it a Mad Max movie? It's in...
Yeah, the idea that they target precisely Hamas militias, like, look at this, like, disgusting. The world can see this as well, and the world is completely against Israel on this, but they act like, oh no, we believe in human rights. We had the video the other day. We believe in, targeting Hamas. Insane. It's just insane. And this is still going on.
Entirety destruction. If that's not genocidal, I don't know what is. I haven't seen scenes like that in Ukraine. Maybe in one town, Mariupol, but I haven't seen the entire Gaza Strip.
Mehdi, by every measurement of urban warfare, Israel has gone...
Please don't give me a talking point, Joe.
No, I'm looking...
No, he is. That's what he's going to do. That's it. By every measure. Based on what? We've just given you evidence that's clear levelling of quite a small area, but oh my God.
Looking
Respond
at that.
to the footage.
I'm responding to the footage.
You don't give a damn about that.
No, I do. Don't say that.
Well,
I do give a damn.
Engage with
I
it.
do
Please
give
don't
a
give me
damn.
some talking about urban warfare
No,
stats.
no, it is.
I know the stats. I can give you stats. I'm asking you to
It
respond
is
to that
urban.
footage.
Agreed. And
Entire cities
agreed.
and towns wiped
Gaza
out.
needs to be rebuilt.
That's
no
not
doubt.
engaging with the footage.
No, it is.
What is your human reaction to seeing entire towns, cities, refugee camps wiped out?
My reaction is that really sucks. That's horrible. That needs to be rebuilt. But I'm...
That sucks. Who's going to rebuild it? Who's going to pay for it? Because Israel need to. Like, not
going to lay the lion's share of the blame on Israel.
The people
for
who wiped that out. The people who chose to go...
That's insane. Like, it's not Israel who did that.
2,000-pound bombs on civilian homes, apartments, buildings.
I'm going to lay the lion's share of the blame on Hamas for starting the war on October 7th, knowing exactly what would happen, hiding for years behind their civilians, putting their civilians in harm's way. I'm not going to blame the
It's a very strange
army.
argument that says they started a war knowing that would happen. So, so hold on. So if I start a fight with a known gangster or murderer, and he kills a bunch of my family in response, it's my fault?
Oh.
No, seriously, the law, it's a very strange...
Yeah. See, he can't answer that. What would his answer be there? Obviously, he's going to lie, but in that situation, you wouldn't be like, well, yeah, that's wrong. They killed them. It doesn't matter. If you start a fight, yeah, it's not good, and you should be punished for that. But then if your family are killed by that person, they are the one that's clearly in the wrong. And that's a great analogy, because that's what's happening here. Let's hear his response. I'm sure it'll be very convincing.
You're basically conceding that Israel was going to respond in a genocidal way.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Oh,
Yeah. They always frame that like, oh, it's inevitable. Any country would do this. Any country would just level a whole area of Gaza. It's just a natural response to kill tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. It's obvious.
You're saying Hamas started knowing Israel would do that. That doesn't make it morally right what Israel
I'm not
did.
conceding that's a genocidal way.
What is that? What is that imagery
saying,
in your eyes? I'm trying to understand what is that imagery.
That is a horrible result.
That is something we've not seen in modern wars. I mean, what they've done in Gaza, other military commanders, you know this, Joe, including the US, have said, we would never do this.
But Mehdi,
the UK, the US.
The Gaza is a very unusual setting for a war like this.
Yes,
I'll give you this. But we're talking about
children.
We're talking about Hamas that has a history of purposely provoking Israel, then hiding behind...
They would say they're provoked by Israel by an unending occupation. But I want to ask you this question about civilians. I do want to ask you because...
I love being with you.
No, but I want to ask you because I would...
Yeah, but the occupation is the key thing here. They are being occupied. You can't discount that fact.
to deal with actual substantive stuff. We
But
can
that is substantive
No, it's
stuff.
not. That's opinion. I want to deal with fact.
Oh my God.
It is opinion about who provoked who. We can get into that. I will come to that, I promise. But just dealing with this, I just want to deal with human. Because the reason I want to talk to you about the subject is because at home in the US, I see you caring about human rights, civil liberties, democracy, fascism. And then I see Israel, you're on the wrong side completely. So when I look at, for example, that destruction, I don't think you would defend that if it wasn't Israel that was doing it. Similarly, 6-year-old Hind Rajab, you always say Hamas, Hamas, Hamas. This is the great excuse for Israel committing war crimes. You have a 6-year-old girl, Hind Rajab, infamously killed in a car with her 4 cousins, her uncle and aunt, all killed by an Israeli tank that was firing at them. She makes a 911 call. Very, very tragic, horrific call. They send 2 paramedics, the Palestinians, to rescue her. The Israelis killed the paramedics as well in the ambulance. Sky News, the Washington Post have all debunked the Israeli denials that their tank wasn't in the area at the time. The UK independent investigators, Forensic Architecture, they looked at it and said that the Israelis fired 335 bullets into this car and that the tank driver had to have seen that there were children sitting in this car. How do you defend that, Joe?
I don't.
You do. I've got a quote from you that says, Israel deserves immense praise for winning this war as carefully as they can. Would you say that to the remaining family members of Hind?
No, let me finish.
Would you say that to their faces of Hind Rajab's family?
Oh, God, no. Mehdi, look, I defend the way Israel... Let me finish.
In abstract, which is why I give specific.
No, I
know how people do this. Abstract.
No.
Specific.
So let me address both.
Yeah.
I agree. Broadly speaking, I defend the way Israel has fought this war, acknowledging that, and let me finish this thought, that mistakes are made in every war, and that there...
How is that a mistake? Hundreds of bullets in a car with children. How is that a mistake by any definition? Like, a mistake is like, oh, no, how...
are purposeful, indefensible acts made even by the IDF and any military. And that's an example of one. And this is...
So you're agreeing then that in this war that you support, Israel has committed war crimes?
I agree. Purposeful, yes, mistakes have been made.
You can't admit it. Like, mistakes, that's not a mistake. They've committed war crimes unambiguously, unequivocally. But he just can't criticize them. It's just insane.
No, not mistake.
I'm not gonna...
Mistake is, I shot that person, I didn't mean to shoot that person. A war crime is, I deliberately killed a civilian, which you seemed to concede for a moment and then you pulled back.
No, hold on. I don't know that I'm going to call it a war crime.
Why?
I'm going to say, I don't know.
What's killing a child with 335 bullets isn't a war crime?
Give me the...
He would not be saying this if this was in Ukraine. Literally, same situation. He wouldn't even think. He wouldn't be like thinking, oh, what's the talking point I have to give out? He'd just say, yeah, I condemn that. Absolutely. That's disgusting. It's tragic. It's abhorrent. And we need action against Putin for war crimes. But with Netanyahu, he has to defend it.
What is definition of war?
A violation of international humanitarian law, deliberately targeting civilians. What every human rights group... I mean, I could start reading to you from... I could read to you from the International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor's indictment.
Yes.
We know because he's literally charged the Prime Minister you support with war crimes.
Well...
And crimes against humanity.
I don't support that Prime Minister.
You've praised Netanyahu.
I also called for him to resign.
I know, but you've also praised him.
Hold on.
You've also praised him.
Right. But let me get that on the record.
I'm factually accurate
2
when I
weeks
say you've
after
praised him.
October 7th, I said he needs to go.
And then in the 18 months since, you've praised a man who was indicted.
I've also been critical of him as well.
Indicted for war crimes.
I could care less about what the IJC said about war crimes.
You sound like a Republican of old now.
No,
you
not
do.
a Republican.
Republicans. This is what I'm saying. At home, you're like rule of law, judiciary, courts. Abroad, screw the ICJ and the ICC.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He doesn't care.
Do you see how you switch from home and abroad? At home, you're Joe Walsh, the Democrat. Small
Still the
D.
same.
Abroad, you're Joe Walsh, supporter of fascism.
And this is what I mean by the right and adjacent. It is the far right who support Israel. Incidentally, they have no values. They just rule of law here, but over there, no. Israel can do what they want.
Anti-international law.
But you know what's great about this whole thing is it's all focused on Israel. You haven't for a second talked about what Israel...
Well, why would I? You're not a supporter of the Palestinians or Hamas. When I talk to people who support that, I ask them about that.
Yeah.
You are a supporter of the Israeli government, so I'm going to ask you about Israel.
And I'm going to...
Yeah, he has to deflect from that because he can't talk about Israel and the actions because they're indefensible. So you always have to go... We saw it the other day with the interview of the UK Israeli ambassador. Yeah, we can talk about Hamas if you support it. I don't support Hamas. Mehdi doesn't support Hamas. So we're not going to defend their actions. He supports Israel. He has to defend their actions. But they always have to deflect. Oh, it's always Hamas.
Whataboutism all you want. Again, that's what MAGA people do here. When you ask them about MAGA, what do? They blame the Democrats. So let's not play that game. Let's ask you about Israel.
Mehdi, it's not the MAGA game. I'm going to say yes, Israel's made mistakes. I'm going to say yes,
war crimes.
Israel.
No, I'm asking war crimes.
Yeah, mistakes. That disgusting euphemism of mistakes. Most sophisticated military on the planet, most funded, make mistakes.
Israel, call it what you want. Israel,
no, I'm asking you to call it.
And I'm going to tell you, I don't know. I'm going to tell you.
No, Joe.
No,
I'm not going to let you run away with it. You can shout all you want. 335 bullets fired into a car with children. Is that a war crime?
I don't. You know what? Could be. Investigate it. But God damn it,
it was investigated, Joe.
This is what Hamas does all the time.
Joe,
hiding behind civilians is a war crime. You know what slays me about you?
By the way, you said I see you say this all the time.
What?
Hiding behind civilians, and yet when Israelis actually use Palestinians as human shields, you don't say anything. Last week it emerged. I checked your Twitter, Joe. You can correct me.
What?
Last week it emerged that an 80-year-old man, Israeli press reported, was being used as a human shield. They were taking him into houses, putting him in front of them, an actual human shield. Right, they were using a Palestinian man. But they've done that many times. Do you know they've sent? Let me finish the sentence. They sent Palestinians into tunnels in Gaza. Have you condemned that as? Have you condemned that as a use of human shield?
Was not aware of it, and if I was aware of it, I'd condemn it.
It's all over the Israeli press.
Why are you not acknowledging that this is Hamas's policy, and this has been their policy from day one?
What I acknowledge about Hamas is irrelevant because I don't support Hamas.
Let me hear you say it.
I don't support Hamas. Do you support Hamas?
No.
Do you support Hamas?
No.
Do you support Hamas?
No.
I don't support Hamas. So that's done. Do I support Israel?
Stop for a minute.
Can I finish a sentence?
No.
Can I finish a sentence?
Not when you don't let.
He's like a child. Like, no. Like, again, he can't defend it. He's trying to, not very well. Like, who's watching this and is convinced by what he's saying? Nobody.
Joe, let me finish mine. But I promise I'll let you give a long answer. I'll give you a long answer if you let me finish this one sentence. I don't support Hamas. Do you support Hamas?
No.
I don't support Israel. Do you support Israel?
Yes.
So, well, that's what we're going to talk about. Now,
stop. No.
It's very simple. You're here to support Israel.
No, but stop. But Hamas.
Why am I talking about something we both disagree with?
Hamas has been the governing entity in Gaza for how many years? So, yes, you do need to talk about Hamas because Hamas did what they did on October 7th.
And we've condemned it. Do we both condemn that?
history. Do you condemn? Yes. Do you condemn?
But you're not condemning Israeli war crimes. That's what I don't understand. You're trying to dodge it with whataboutism about Hamas. It's a very simple question. I can keep going. Let's play a clip here. Let's play a clip for you to watch. We got a clip of a grandmother. Here's a grandmother. Maybe you're not aware of this one. This is a Palestinian grandmother in her 50s. She's holding a child, right, in her arm. He's got a white flag. She's shot in cold blood by an Israeli sniper who's...
Mehdi, I don't know what the hell that was. That's not... How do I know?
It's a sniper who shot at a Palestinian grandmother.
Mehdi, you invite me on, you show me a clip of that, and you tell me what it is. I'm sorry, okay, I'm not familiar with that. Okay? I'd like to know what that is. I'm not familiar with that.
You know I can go through multiple examples, right? You know that. I can start reading multiple examples. The Al-Dos family in Gaza, whose apartment building was bombed. We can go through each and every example.
But where you and I will disagree is this. And I'm telling you, this is ugly, and it's horrible, and it's unfortunate.
It's war crimes.
It's not...
Again, never like ugly, mistake. Never condemn it for what it is. And the double standard is like, no one's convinced by this. And Mehdi is really doing great work here because he is the one who will hold them to the fire. But the media won't. The broader media is complicit here. And I'll stop here because this guy's so boring. He's not answering the questions. He's obviously got the talking points. He can't have consistent values because he doesn't have any values. So hit the like button, subscribe, comment, like to hear your thoughts on this guy, and I'll see you in the next video.